what are you thinking? But I need to complete this, but, so I grew up in Livingston, and so that those 3 suicides that happened, there was young people, it was just awful, and I felt compelled to help, so we were going over there, and I was going to do a similar talk like this, and I just come out of my zone. I'm not really a talker. I'm like a one-on-one counselor. That's what I do in my work. But I just knew the community, there were 3 suicides, I think it was in a week, and they were high school kids, you know. So we're driving over there. It's kind of a funny story, beautiful story. And I made my teenagers come, because that's what we do, right? And they were like, I'm like, you guys, we're gonna pray. So my parents are driving us, we're in the minivan, I got my teenagers, and I'm like, we really need to pray about what I'm gonna speak about when we get there, you know? And my teenagers are like, oh, Mom. I'm like, come on, come up with the verse, you know. I know God's gonna give us a verse. And my older daughter, she was just trying to be funny. She's like, okay, Ecclesiastes, you know, like she was totally just being a brat. And I'm like, all right, Ecclesiastes, okay, Mo. My boy Mo, I don't know if it was him, but I'm like, what verse? And they were just like rolling their eyes, or what chapter, I said, rolled their eyes. 4, Ecclesiastes 4, and I think they thought because they know the Bible enough to know that they were like, what is she gonna get there? So I opened up my Bible, and I had a message version, and I'm not kidding you, the title of that section said slow suicide.
Oh man.
And I'm like, you guys. I'm not kidding. I haven't read, you know, I'm like, this says slow suicide. Like, oh my, this cannot be real. Because, anyways, but it was real because that's how God works. You know, the whole chapter of Ecclesiastes 4 is kind of interesting. And I guess how I interpret it is it's talking about someone that is just really at their end, alone and at their end and bad, all of that. And at the end, this is what it said, and I believe this is what God showed us that day. It says, it is better to have a partner than go it alone. Share the work, share the wealth. And if one falls down, the other helps. But if there's no one to help, tough. 2 in a bed warm each other. Alone, you shiver all night. By yourself, you're unprotected. With a friend, you can face the worst. Can't you round up a third? A 3-stranded rope isn't easily snapped. And it's this last part. By yourself, you're unprotected. With a friend, you can face the worst. Can you round up a third? A 3-stranded rope isn't easily snapped. And I believe I come with my God. That's 2. That person is 3. And that rope is unsnapped. And we can do that. We can call a 911 and all of this, but I just believe this is a true story. My cynical teenager, and this is what God showed to us, you know, and we can do that. We can do that. We can bring our faith, and even if you struggle with that piece, it still says that. What does it say? Where I lost it. Oh, it's by yourself you're unprotected. With a friend, you can face the worst, and a 3-stranded rope cannot be broken. So we can do that. We just have to kind of be brave and going into these hard places of just asking. Don't beat around the bush and just straight up ask. And I am going to cover, by the way, that was Ecclesiastes 4:12, but anyways. If you look at it in the message version, you'll see it says slow suicide there. I'm going to just list a few things that you've gone there, you've asked that hard question. Don't leave the person alone if you feel like it's really imminent. Alcohol and drugs are huge, and so sometimes, because like I said, a good percentage of people that die by suicide, they have something on board, so sometimes maybe it's just waiting out until they're sober, waiting out till the next morning, and then they're more clearly thinking, and then setting out some future help for them. This part's hard, this future help. It's what we struggle with in our community, you know, and we'll make a list. I want us to practice the questioning each other and just using the language, but I also want to come up with a list, and Doreen, maybe you can be the scribe of what you guys feel are your local resources, and you all can go home with them today, but it's going to be lacking. I mean, I'll just tell you that right now because I know what it's like in rural Montana. It's going to be not what we feel like we're going to really need or want. And that's when you believe what Ecclesiastes 4:12 says, is that we can do it. Every single person in here can be part of that rope, that 3-stranded rope. So, and it matters. Most people, that moment, if they get to the other side of it, this is not all suicidal people, but most suicidal people, they honestly often don't go back there. Some do, though. All right, so tell a family member, bring a family member into it. If it's just an acquaintance, you don't really have that relationship, reach out to someone that does have a relationship. I do that a lot. I'll let a parent know or a friend know. I've done it online. I'll read, because I don't have the relationship. Like, I can tell someone's suicidal by what they're saying. I don't have the relationship with them, so I'll reach out to someone that does and say, hey, I'm noticing this. Do you think you could go check on them? Offer support, encourage the person to get help if they need mental health or substance use. I started at the beginning talking about my trauma-informed approach. Almost everyone, if they struggle with addiction, has trauma in their past. That trauma will make them more likely to have suicidal ideations and behaviors. There are some therapists out there that can help with that. Offer to help the person take the next steps. It's really scary to do it alone. Let's just say, hey, I'll go to your first appointment with you, you know. And just keep it an open line of communication. And don't ever ask them why. No. I think we should maybe have a little bit of a break. But I will open it up for any questions, and then I think we should practice a little bit. I know it's weird. I hate role playing, but I think we need to do it.
Practice during.
Can we?
Oh yeah, that's a good idea.
Can we put you on our community resource list?
Yes.
Do you have an office in Judith Gap?
I have an office in Harlowton.
Okay.
This is an old card, so, but
Okay.
yeah, I have an office in Harlowton.
I'd like to throw out something that I think is suicidal type deal, but you don't ever think of it that way. But in what I've been listening to today, when you look at mass killings,
That's a
it's
guarantee.
almost like those are suicidal people.
Yeah.
They kill a bunch of people, but they either aim to get killed themselves or do kill themselves in the process a lot of the time.
It's a suicidal move. Some people will engage
Yes.
law enforcement,
Right.
right? They know that if they do something that they'll get shot, and so that is a way that some people die by suicide. So absolutely. And that just leads me to, the statistics we have. I mean, I hope I'll be able to get into it, but in some of the, after a suicide, what then? But, people, survivors, they'll say, because they love their family so much and they don't want them to take the blame, they will often try to make it look like it wasn't a suicide. They're sometimes thinking through that level, and I think our numbers are way lower than they actually are. I really, really do. I think even being the state that leads the nation, I think the numbers are even higher because a lot of them, or for insurance purposes, like if it's an older man, they don't, a suicide affects insurance stuff, and so they are not going to want it to look like that for their family. So,
well, the denial factor is huge. My son was a police officer, responded to a 5th grade boy that shot himself with his dad's sawed-off shotgun, and the parent he was fighting with the police officers. It is not suicide, it was an accident. It wasn't an accident.
Well, and so because of all the shame that's attached to that, the way it's always been treated from what you said, I mean, I can go back to just thinking, well, you're going to go to hell.
Mm-hmm.
Only bad people would think about that. I mean, that's just I grew up, and my parents are good people. I mean, these things just become normal. They're just normalized,
It's funny how you sit here and I didn't think I had much to do with suicide. I'm all of a sudden remembering several things.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh gosh.
Yeah.
Some some training I have spoke of this that got me to thinking, and that's the whole opioid crisis and alcohol is just so prevalent in our community. And, you know, I think you know some of those people that continue in those very high-risk, dangerous, and there's other, like, people that are just always in accidents, I mean, and just insist on living life at the edge.
Reckless.
You know, they are a different type, but truly still in the suicide category. And it's not like I've had a whole lot of experience, but I've been more brave to just speak to that to them. Just say, you know what, it just seems like this is going to end, that you're going to die. Have you thought, you know, basically, I don't know, just bring them around to, and you know, some of them will admit that they just wish they could wake up dead. And that is really a hopeless suicide person. So just think about asking questions to those people that are, you know, it's a more, I don't know, it's suicide, but in a different.
I was going to talk about that, like with the plan. You see a lot more of like a recklessness, not so much I want to kill myself, but it would be better if I woke up dead, or if I didn't wake up, it would be better if, like, not an actual plan, but I don't want to be here. I think life would be easier if I wasn't here, sort of feel about it instead of like an actual, and with that comes like recklessness and, you
And
know.
that's a little bit harder, because then if you're directly asking, they likely would say no.
Yeah, I don't have a plan, but I do feel that life would be easier if I wasn't here.
Yeah. And I
So,
just
and
think
what do you
hit
think
it
is
from,
okay
like what
still best to-
what my mom does is, like, I know some of the people she's talking about, and she'll just send them a message and or see them, and she just says, I value you, you matter. So I think you can't go wrong with that. You know, if you're seeing these behaviors in people, you know, that's only the surface. You know, what's going on underneath, and so is lack of value and hopelessness and all that. And so just saying, you matter in this community. And they will, like in her situation, they'll kind of reach out to her. They know they can fall back on that. So, but yeah, you guys are right, and that's hard. Like I said, there's that 20%. There's nothing. There's no signs. And I'll say, I'll cover this if we have time. Even if that person was standing right here and you could ask them why, they likely wouldn't even be able to tell you why. So we don't get to understand the why a lot. But I think we should take a break. I'm going to say, have you thoughts of killing yourself? Are you suicidal? Maybe pick your favorite one, write it on one of these papers, and just partner up, or maybe 3. I think there's some dessert over there. Sugar is good. Coffee. And try to